Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, recruiting in yoga pants. So this week we're going to tackle the opportunity that you all have to decide exactly where you would like to lay some accountability. All right, are you excited for this? Job seekers, recruiters, managers, anybody and everybody watching. My dad, hi dad. I want y'all to think about where you should be asking questions and perhaps assigning some responsibility. So, little backstory. Not going to repeat the whole story. Y'all can go read the post for yourself. But I shared an example of what I consider unfortunate recruiter behavior. I think that this is a clear case of a recruiter making a poor decision. I do not think this was done with any malicious intent. I do not think this was done because this recruiter was lazy or cruel or any of those terrible things. I think this recruiter had a very specific bias. I think this recruiter leaned into that bias, and this recruiter could have missed out on a golden hire if I had not come along, you're welcome, and busted said bias. I do not share this story because I am trying to point fingers at anyone or lay blame on anyone. I am telling the story because I believe in transparency and accountability. When we know better, we do better. And this was a learning opportunity for everyone involved, including myself. So what happened was we had a very challenging niche role. I had a sourcing recruiter who was responsible for candidate generation, top of funnel pipeline. We were just not having any luck. We had some interviews that didn't go great. We finally got one person through the interview process. We make an offer. They turn the offer down. So that sucks. So we're back to square one. And we just didn't really have a real robust pipeline. Now, again, that is to be expected because candidate-driven market, highly niche role, a lot of variables there that made this role perhaps not super appealing. So I asked the question of my sourcing recruiter, what kind of people are applying? Like, who are we attracting with this job description? Do we need to get creative? Do we have, fair qualifications that we're asking for? Like, we found people who meet the qualifications. So it's not as if it was an impossible role. It was a hard role, not an impossible role. But I was genuinely curious. Like, I really wanted to understand what kind of people were attracted to this role. Were there any themes or common threads with the applicants that we could pull on to see if we could do something to, get more pipeline? And I was assured with no hesitation or reservation that we were not going to get good applicants. But that wasn't my question. I didn't say, do we have good applicants? I said, what kind of applicants do we have? See the difference? No. Trust me, I got this. This is a role I have to go search for. This is somebody I have to go find. They're not coming to us. You're still not answering my question. Because I was ready to fight the manager. I was like, we're going to change the job description. We're going to do the thing. Okay. So me being suspicious, I open up the ATS and I pop over to that. This was not my job. I was not supposed to be in like applicant buckets. This was not my role at the time at this particular place. But I went and looked. Imagine my dismay when I see 237 new, unviewed applications. Some of them were a few months old. Now, here's the thing. This is what I love. This is what I love about the ATS. I know y'all love to hate on the ATS. Let me tell you something about the ATS. Everything you do is timestamped. And if you click a button and review an applicant, I see that. Oh, okay. Amy Miller reviewed that at 11:52 a.m. on 12/3. Oh, okay, great. If you didn't, I see that too. So I can see that these are new, unviewed, no action's been taken. Cool. Guess what we're doing tonight? So I decide, I had a couple options here, right? I could have gone back to my sourcing recruiter and been like, clean that up. But I had questions, and I'm nosy. Oh, I am the nosiest person I know. I want to know everything about everything. Anyway, so I decided to go through and start looking at these applications myself and get through the whole list. In fairness, Sourcing Recruiter was not completely wrong. Only 4% met the basic qualifications. Okay? 237 profiles. I identified 10 that met the minimum requirements. I easily dispositioned the other 227. The pizza drivers, the housekeeper from Dubai, the interns. It's fine. You took your shot. Thank you for playing. We're not moving forward. But the 10, you best believe I forwarded those to the hiring manager and was like, hey, give me some feedback. These are people who have applied. These are people who have expressed interest. If you think any of these people are worth talking to, and I say they are, I will get on the phone with them. I will learn more. I'll make sure they're still available, whatever. Hiring manager whittled it down to 5. 4 of those people we ended up interviewing. If I remember correctly, I think the 5th one had moved on. Like they were like, no, I've already got another job or whatever. Like they weren't interested. The other 4 got back to us. We interviewed all 4 of them. We actually ended up offering one of them. Okay. And I tell this story. And again, as I said on LinkedIn, like this is my villain origin story. Okay. Because this is another clear cut case of it's not the tool, it's how you use it. The fact that people were sitting there in the ATS has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that we use an ATS. It has nothing to do that people apply online and are stored in a digital filing cabinet, and a recruiter is expected to go through that filing cabinet to see if you can find somebody that is worth moving to the next folder. Okay? The way people got this so twisted online, I am actually embarrassed for a lot of you, to be very blunt. Okay? I know it's frustrating. I get mad. I'm a little heated right now thinking about it. Okay? But the point here is, and this is where I need y'all to just think. This was a recruiter decision. This has nothing to do with filters. This has nothing to do with knockout questions. We didn't have any of that enabled. We could have. Our ATS had those features. We just didn't have them enabled. So there were no mechanisms here other than a recruiter making a decision. And I'm telling you right now, 100% of the time, that is where your complaint should be lodged. I had people ask good faith questions, okay? I had one person was like, I don't understand. Did they just not use the ATS? Fair question. They actually did, because you know what happens? When you go and find somebody that you think is good, the people who interviewed, the people who we offered originally, those people were sent a link to apply. They apply, we go get their profile out of the bucket, and we move them to the next stage and the next stage. So yes, the sourcer used the ATS as intended, move people through the process as intended. Did your ATS block you from seeing them? No, not even remotely. Not at all. Fair question. I understand why you're asking. Thank you for asking. No, it did not. They're literally sitting there unviewed. Now, there's multiple tabs there, right? I could see the ones that we'd interviewed. I could see the ones we dispositioned. There's more than 237 people on that rec. I'm talking about 237 that were intentionally not reviewed. Because once again, louder for the ones not listening, it was a recruiter decision. There is a very real concern, and I understand this, that you're a job seeker, you're applying to roles that you're a great fit for, you're one of those 10, and you're at the mercy of a recruiter who's making a bad decision. I understand that frustration and that fear. That is a fair complaint and a absolutely viable concern. So what do you as a job seeker do about that? Friends, I cannot overstate the importance of understanding how hiring happens at the companies you want to work for. I promise you, and I will die on this hill, a user is making the decisions on what they review and how. So it would behoove you that if you've got your eye on a particular organization, or you're finding roles at a particular place that are interesting, or you see a recruiter who works in your field that has cool stuff that you might be a fit for from time to time, ask questions. What is the application process at your organization? Do you leverage any kind of filtering or knockout questions or things that help you surface the right candidates? What does fair consideration look like in your organization? I have a video on fair consideration. Feel free to give it a look and see if there's any questions you can pull out of that content. But I'm telling you right now, y'all's obsession with the ATS and with filters and auto rejects and the it's just semantics. If I'm being rejected, it's all the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. If you are being unfairly rejected, one of two things is happening. Either you were given fair consideration and you're just up against significant competition and a very challenging market that we're in currently, and just a dumpster fire of an economy, or you may not be as aligned as you think you are. And what I mean by that, I don't mean your actual skills and experiences and abilities. I mean the way you're presenting them. I have had so many people over the years tell me that they're absolutely perfect for this job and they don't understand why they were rejected and they're the best possible candidate. And I say, oh my gosh, let's unpack this. Let's look. And they send me the resume. Where's this thing? Oh, well, I did that. Why is it not on the resume? Like this has happened over and over. And I realize that some of you are going to be watching and going, well, that's not me. Everything's on my resume. I understand that. Maybe you're in the first camp with like the ridiculous amount of competition and, just bad luck. That's where you get to inspect. If you really truly are putting your absolute best foot forward and there is no question looking at your resume, you've got the accomplishments, you've got the skills, you've got the experiences, you've got the narrative, you're doing everything right. Still may not get the offer, but at least you know you're doing everything right. Now it becomes a question of networking, understanding how hiring happens at those target companies, getting in with the recruiters, getting, early application if you can, those kinds of things. But you have to, for your own sanity and for mine, laying blame in all the wrong directions helps none of us. Now, I was very fortunate. I was able to use this example as a teaching moment. The sorcerer learned a lesson. We had a good talk, a good outcome. Behaviors changed, which was wonderful. It is okay to hold people accountable appropriately. It's okay to ask the right questions. It's okay to seek to understand. May I recommend backing off of the assumptions and leaning into the curiosity and adjusting where it makes sense to adjust. For all of y'all, job seekers, recruiters alike, okay? Fair consideration, honest conversations, transparency, and clarity. That's what I wish for all of us. All right, friends. I could go off on this tangent for another hour, but we're going to leave it there. So let me know down below if you have any questions. If there's any part of this story that doesn't make sense, read the post I shared. Take notes. Ask questions. Seriously, I'm always, always, always happy to answer good faith questions. But once again, lay the blame where it belongs. Ask the questions of the folks with the answers. And stop letting wacky mythology nonsense send you spiraling down a place you don't want to go. Okay? All right, y'all. Hope that helps. See you next week.